Stephanie here for Papertrey Ink. I hope you're having a fabulous day. I'm so glad you're joining me. I have a fun project to share with you. Today we are using the Papertrey Ink's Pro Stampers box for March 2024. This is a pretty cool box because it basically has everything that you need for making a card. Any kind of card. Mother's Day, you have birthday, you have thinking of you, an encouragement card, and I love that they're great for this set is great for stash building. I'm going to go over with you what's in the Pro Stampers box for March, and then we're going to make a card. Okay, first I want to say that this is a great value. I'll list this down below if you want to head on over to Papertrey Ink and check out the price. I would say this is almost like 50% off, but don't quote me on that. But if you were to add up everything individually, the price point on this is pretty fabulous. Here's what you get, okay? You get 2 stencils, okay? The stencils are lovely. I love creating distressed looks on my regular stencils. These are a little less than an A2 size, and this has circles. And then this one has a lattice look. So you get 2 of these. I do want to mention these are fabulous for stash building because you can use it in the center of a card. You can off-center it. You can basically flip it anywhere. When you have a distressed look, I think it looks great anywhere on a card base. Okay, and I'm using an A2 panel, but you can use a larger size, a slimline if you wanted to also. So you get 2 stencils. Also included is your stamp sets. You get 2. Papertrey Ink takes a normal 6x8 stamp set and they cut it in half. So you have 2 4x6 stamps. I love that because for packaging for 1 and for 2, it's just easier to manage. This is the stamp set this month for March. I'm saying March because the release went live last month. Even though I'm showing this in April, this is the March release. And April's is going to be just as fabulous, just saying. We have the 2 stamp sets. These create some beautiful florals. I created one. I'm going to show you what it looks like. These create long stem flowers. They're layering the leaves and the floral or layering. There's 3 flowers in here. I count the base leaves, not the layering part, but so you get 3 beautiful florals. These are great on the long stem, but they're also great if you were to take the smaller leaf and just connect it to the flower to create a smaller flower too. So you get this. You also get greetings. I like the Pro Stampers box because they're base dies, I would like to say, or stash building, because they're great for like this is great for every occasion, even masculine. You know, even those flowers in here, these are great for masculine. You have greetings that are just as fabulous for stash building. Mother's Day, thank you, happy birthday, thinking of you, best wishes, and I'll always be here for you. So a little bit of everything, kind of a smorgasbord of greetings, which is wonderful for stash building if you're new to stamping. Like I said, they're layering. The stems aren't, but the leaves and the flowers are layering. And you get this in the Pro Stampers box for March. And then you also get the die set. This looks like a regular die set, but there's more to it. This die set will cut out all the leaves, the stems, and the florals. Okay, so this has a coordinating die set here. And then there's some standalone dies. There's 2 frames. I had cut mine out. I'm going to show you what they look like. So there's 2 frames. You get a rectangle that's great horizontal or vertical. Okay, and the orange is kind of hard to tell, but you also get this shape here that's great horizontal or vertical. And this one you can probably see the detail. It has dotted detail on both of these. So they're very pretty for layering together and for creating frames on your cards or die cutting out windows. You could even make a shaker with this. So that's wonderful. You get 2 standalone shape dies, and then you also get 3 standalone greetings. These greetings are sentiments and they're wonderful. They die cut out with 1 shot. What I mean is sometimes they're all letters are separated. These aren't. These are all one piece when you die cut it out, which I love. They're connected. And also the dot on the eye is connected too, so you'll never worry about losing the dots for the eyes, or I think they're called tittles, but whenever I say it, I always think of toodles, like I'm saying goodbye, but I'm not. But so you get Thinking of You. You also get Wish. Thinking of You is pretty general, great for stash building. You get Wish, that's great for birthdays. And again, that eye is dotted. One swipe through your die cutting machine, and that comes out. And then you also get another standalone die. This is Hello, for Just Because cards. And I think it's just the perfect size for all three of these greetings. So you get 2 standalone frames, 3 standalone greetings, and the dies that will cut out the florals, and your stamp set. And that's it. So the dies, the stamp set, and the stencil is what's included in the March Pro Stampers box. Great price point, guys. If you are new to stamping and want to start building your stash up, I think this is a great way to do it. And I'll leave a link down below if you want to check it out. We're going to create a card today using this, and we're going to start by doing some stamping. We're going to start by taking our base flower. We're taking the largest, and then these are the layering that go with it. I'm going to use my lightest ink. Today we're using Summer Sunrise. I'm going to go over our flower. I'll stamp this. And then we're going to go in with our second layer. We're just going to line it up here. The second layer, we're going to use a slightly darker ink. I'm using Orange Zest, and we will ink this up. I'm going to stamp it a couple times just so it stands out. And then we're going to take our third layer, which is this one. Papertrey, I do want to note, Papertrey ink usually creates clusters when there's layering. For example, this flower here, the next layer and the next layer will be here. The largest one we're using is 1, 2, 3, and then this one here is 1, 2, and 3. So it's nice that they're sectioned together. I like that. So we're going to take our third layer. For my third layer, we're using Raspberry Fizz. Now I think this would be one of those flowers that would look great if you use even a darker ink than Orange Fizz. You could actually use maybe the terracotta. We'll stamp this. Wonderful. And that's all there is to the flower. Now we're going to work on our leaves. For our leaves, the same concept goes. For example, you have this long leaf. This is the layering part. Short leaf, layering part. Like they wouldn't have the layering to this leaf on a different page. It's usually all together. Example for this one and this one also. For this card, we're going to use 3 leaves. We're going to use this one, and this one. And then we're going to use this piece here. We're going to go ahead and add our base leaf, and then this piece here is the flower base. We're going to take that one also. For the base of my flower and leaves, we're using Spring Moss. We're going to go ahead and ink these up. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the second layer, which is right next to these. And we're going to line these up. For the details on my leaves, I'm using Ripe Avocado ink. And since these are very thin, I suggest maybe using an acrylic block to do this. Unless you want to double stamp. Sometimes when they're thin like this, an acrylic block is just easier. So those are my leaves. Okay, now while we're at it, we're going to stamp our greeting. I'm going to stamp the greeting that says, "I will always be here for you," and I'm going to fit it inside my frame. So I'm going to take my frame die, I'm going to line it up on my cardstock, and then I'm going to go ahead and add it here. Okay, I'll pick it up with the lid of my stamping positioner, and then I'm going to stamp my greeting with my True Black ink here. Stamp this. And lastly, I'm going to bring in my stem, and I'm pretty sure I can stamp this over here on the edge. And I think we can die cut everything out all at once. Let's see. We'll tack this down. And I wanted to make sure, I did this last because I wanted to make sure that I had room here, and I'm using spring moss once more. And I'm going to add a little bit of my ripe avocado at the very bottom, kind of trailing up. And that's all there is to that. Okay, let's take our panel. I'm going to start by taking the frame. We're going to line this up. I'm going to tape it down, making sure it's centered. We're going to go ahead and take the coordinating dies. We're going to line up the rest of them, and we will run everything through our die cut machine. I have everything die cut, and now we're going to build our flower. We're going to put our greeting to the side, and eventually I'll put foam tape behind here. So that goes to the side, and to create the flower, it's very easy. It's actually customizable. I'm going to start by adding a little bit of glue here at the very bottom. And then we can add the base of our flower here. And then we can add a little glue up here. And we can tack down our flower at the very top. Okay, now for my leaves, I want to make sure that they're not interfering with my greeting, which will be here. I just going to line this up right along the frame on the left and add a little glue at the base of this leaf. And let's scoot it down a little. I'll tuck this underneath the back of my leaf, and of course customizing is what is fun. And this way I know my leaves aren't going to obstruct my greeting. I think that's going to work out great. For my background, I have some spring moss cardstock, and I trimmed this down to 5 inches tall by 4 inches wide. So it's going to leave me a little border on my card base. Let me show you. I'm going to be using this stencil. I'm going to switch it to this side, and I'm going to add it here. And I'm not even going to bother taping it down because I'm going to be using my texture paste and a palette knife. So we're just going to open this up. Of course, if you don't have texture paste, you can use a white opaque ink. I think that will look just as nice. And I'm going to just go ahead and fill this in. The nice thing about texture paste is it dries really fast. I'm going to lift this up, and I'm loving the way this looks. I'm going to go ahead and take this, I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to line it up on the reverse side. And I'll do the same thing. Okay, and then I'll lift this part up. I'm going to wipe the edges here, and then I'm going to set this aside to dry. my panel is, I love the texture that this gives, and it's just about dry. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to the front of my A2 size card base, and I'm going to use my tape runner for this. We'll just tack this down. Okay, next I went ahead and put foam tape behind my frame, but before I adhere it, I'm going to make sure that this is centered on my card here. I'm going to go ahead and flip this around, and I'm going to use a generous amount of adhesive on the back, and we'll tack this right in the center. So we have a little dimension. I'm going to take my flower and I'm going to add it along the left side of my frame here. And then I'm going to bring in some of my twine. Papertrey Ink has this lovely twine, and I'm going to double it up, and we're going to tie a bow with it. I'm also going to bring in a button from Papertrey Ink. These are the vintage buttons. Lots of different sizes of buttons in here. I'm going to use a glue dot, and we're going to adhere our button. You could, of course, thread the button, but sometimes I think this is just easier. And then I'll take a glue dot and I will tack down my bow right over the center. And that will finish off my card today for Papertrey Ink. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a lovely day, and I hope you get a chance to check out the Papertrey Ink's March Pro Stampers box. Thanks for joining me. Have a lovely day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.